Well, this should have never happened. And we have a semi-naked sculpture of a man finding a home on a new cruise ship. And what's wrong with people? This has got to be the most poorly worded suggestion to a cruise line I've ever seen. Cruise news and my views. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to La Lita Loca. I'm your host, Tony, here with the latest cruise news and views for your face. For your face on March the 20th, 2024. And I got a big old pile of cruise news for you. A lot of people responded to the video yesterday about people who will ruin your cruise, and all of it was pretty decent feedback. Some people didn't like it, I get that. Some people recognized it was all in good fun, but I'll tell you who I'm most afraid of. I'm afraid of the logheads. I don't know if that's the name, but I tell you what, if I was starting a Kenny Loggins fan club, I would call them logheads. I don't know how many mulleted, poor bearded, weird song singing, footloose loving people sent me messages yesterday about don't disparage the KL. But yeah, so I guess I should apologize to the logheads. Keep it in the danger zone, and I'll never again say, shut up, Kenny Loggins. Or will I? Cruise news story number one. Do you remember back in 2019, this image of the Viking sky, a list off the coast of Norway, seemingly stuck in the water? Well, now, nearly 5 years later, an investigation has determined that this cruise should have never happened. It's a scary story, honestly. This happened in March the 23rd of 2019. And what happened is that cruise ship sailed out into waters and they got caught in a storm. And then they had a power outage because there was not enough lubricating oil in one of the sump tanks. I don't pretend to know enough about what that means, but that was the finding. Not enough lubricating oil in the sump tanks. It caused a complete blackout on the cruise ship. It took close to 40 minutes to get any kind of propulsion up again, and they could only propult for 1 to 5 knots. And while they were blacked out and without propulsion, they went within one ship's length of running aground there in Norway. There was a heroic rescue that took place. They got several passengers off board before they were able to, get that cruise ship out of the mire there and get it back to port. But that's not really the reason why they said that they should not have cruised. They should not have cruised because one of the 4 generators that are part of the return back from sea safety standards did not work. So essentially what the investigators are saying is when they went through the checkoff list and noticed that the redundancy that exists because of the diesel generators, because one of them was out, they should have called it off. They should have said, let's abort until we can get this fixed. Out of this investigation, 14 new recommendations going to SOLA, which is the, the body that does safety recommendations for cruise ships. Fortunately, nobody passed away, and I think injuries were minimal. It was just, scary, right? Being stuck at sea, almost run aground. But yeah, a cruise ship that should have never cruised. All right, can we talk about respect for a second? As cruisers, I think we do owe the ocean some respect. I think, being environmentally conscious and conservation conscious, top of mind a lot of times for many cruisers. And that's why I'm excited to introduce you to our newest sponsor here at La Lita Loca. Let me introduce you to Burmese. Burmese is a lifestyle brand that mixes style, adventure, and sustainability. Burmese does offer a wide variety of products for the whole family, but the real star of the line is the swim trunks. Swim trunks for men and boys. The swim trunk that is stretchy, breathable, fast-drying, high-quality, comfortable, soft, anti-chafing. Burmese has 4 different short lengths, so no matter what your style is, they have you covered. Even have matching styles for dads and sons. And here's the exciting part. All Burmese swim trunks are made from recycled plastic bottles, and 10% of every Burmese purchase goes to conservation. Let me show you how it comes. I love the packaging here. This bag is made from plants. It's compostable. It's got sweet gear inside. Here are the swim trunks. And in addition to the pineapple swim trunks, I also received these awesome blue and pink flamingo swim trunks. You can try Burmese and you can do it for a discount. Click my link in the description and use the code LaLitoLoca20 to get yourself a 20% discount. Another big thanks to Burmese for what you're doing when it comes to conservation and also for sponsoring today's episode. Cruise news story number 2, Royal Caribbean has extended its cancellations to the port of Labadee in Haiti in the midst of violence going on south of Labadee in the capital there in Port-au-Prince. They have canceled port visits to Labadee. Looks like through mid-April at this point, but that doesn't mean there won't be more cancellations. I doubt it means there'll be less cancellations, but they're finding alternate ports for people that are booked on cruise ships going to Labadee. Some of those port stops are going to become sea days. Some of those port stops are going to become visits to other ports. But just a big PSA out there, if you're cruising on Royal and Labadee over the next few weeks was part of your itinerary, make sure you check it out, because it doesn't sound like it will be anymore. They're saying they're not doing it because there's any threat to Labadee, but just for an abundance of caution and safety. Good on Royal. Nobody wants to go to a place where there's, the risk of violence or unsafety. So there you go. Were you scheduled to go to Labadee? Did you get cancellated? Leave a comment below. Now, before I walk you into the next cruise news story, I got to tell you about a recent event that happened to me. I was at our transfer station dumping off some cardboard to the recycling area, and I tripped. I tripped at the recycling station, and well, you could say I was down in the dumps. Dad jokes, everybody loves them dad jokes. I'm just kidding. I didn't even go to the transfer station. We drove by it yesterday. That's what prompted it. So cruise news story number 3. I talked to you recently about MSC announcing that they would be returning to Asia, and they're going to be the first international cruise line to start cruising out of China again. I believe the cruise started on the 18th. It happened. The MSC Bellissima made its way to Shanghai, kicked off a cruise on March the 18th, and then it will be followed shortly by Royal Caribbean's Spectrum of the Seas, which I cruised on out of Shanghai. I think I have a whole playlist of when I went out of China to Japan. I'll leave that linked in the pinned comment if you want to track through myself and a friend of the channel, friend of mine, Don Terrace from Don's Family Vacation. If you want to see what we did over in Asia, I'll try to put together a little playlist, and you can follow it along at the end. How about that? Yeah, way to go. International cruising coming back from China. Our next cruise news story is primarily for those who like semi-naked statues on your cruise ship. Famously, there's a statue that was sculpted by Michelangelo called the Statue of David, and it's supposedly the perfect representation of male anatomy. And the dude's naked. He's not, you get to see it all. And that's that. But, an interesting design choice was made somewhere along the way that they would put a replica of this statue in a food venue on the Carnival Pride. So not only could you, have your dinner and you could have a cheese plate that came with grapes and cheese and nuts. I'm sorry. They put a fig leaf over it, so you didn't have to deal with that. But eventually, the decision was made to remove David from the Pride Eatery. I think it's the steakhouse, and they put him in storage. I hope they gave him a blanket. The dude looked cold, but worry not. Fans of David covered with fig leaf, almost replica of David. He will be making a return to a Carnival cruise ship near you. This time he will find a place in like a gallery on the Carnival Firenze. So if you can't make it over to Italy to see the actual statue of David by Michelangelo, you can see a replica on the Carnival Firenze. Reminds me of a woodworking buddy of mine, very creative. He designed a chair that affixed midway up the wall. And sometimes you just show up at his house and he was just sitting there, on the wall, just hanging out there. That was my buddy Art. Dad jokes. All right, we got to talk about this crazy suggestion that was levied. I don't know if the suggestion's crazy, but the wording of the suggestion's really tweaking my melon. we're going to talk about that. But first, let me quickly invite you to subscribe. If you like staying up to date with everything going on in cruising, please consider subscribing. The logheads. Please consider subscribing with the notification bell on. That way you don't miss out on any of these episodes. A big thank you in advance. All right. The debate has long raged between folks who think that if you go eat at the main dining room on a cruise ship, that you should dress up, that you should dress to the nines, that you should wear your Sunday best, that you should look Gucci, against the people who say, why do I got to dress up for dinner? If I want to wear my short pants, if I want to wear my Vans tennis shoes, if I want to wear my baseball cap, what difference does it make? Just enjoy your dinner and shut up. Well, a very concerned Carnival cruise passenger, big brain in it, came up with a very interesting suggestion, and they had me all the way to the end. I said, well, this could be a very valid suggestion. They had me all the way to the end until they said, I'll read it to you. This is what it reads. I think there should be 2 split dining halls, one for those of us who uphold the cruise tradition of formal night. Only those men with I think they meant to say like a tuxedo or a suit, or long evening gown or cocktail dress for ladies would be allowed there. The other dining hall could be for everyone else, where they can wear whatever they want. There is no reason I can see why this would not be popular, John. We should not have to see jeans and t-shirts and baseball hats. Let them eat with their own kind, I say. Now, again, I think the suggestion is good. I don't know if it's feasible from a logistics perspective. Is there going to be an equal amount of people that are formally dressed versus non-formally dressed to make a split dining room make sense? I'm sure that's the decision tree that the cruise lines having to go through. We can do it. We can't do it. But look, they use the language, let them eat with their own kind. And it's such a wild thing. I don't know if this is a generational thing, but with their own kind is inflammatory language. I think people know it's inflammatory language, and the debate can be, well, you shouldn't be inflamed by my language. That's your own bias, making that language, inflammatory. Or you can say, I know that this language may be inflammatory, and so when I can use other words, why would I use it? And they may be ignorant that it's inflammatory language. So to me, that's the question. What is worse, somebody using inflammatory language on purpose to evoke something, or is it worse, the person that is so ignorant of the fact that some language is inflammatory that they use it? It's funny how even in cruising, it points a lens on, where we're at in the world today. Certainly philosophies exist and are exuded out there that say, I can do what I want. I can say what I want. And if the things that I do and say make you feel a certain way or offend you, or you feel inflamed by them, well, that's not on me. That's on you. And then there's other philosophies, ancient philosophies, faith-based philosophies, things that say, all things are possible, but maybe all things aren't profitable, meaning that if there's things that I can do and say that are well within my rights to do them, that I know are going to be inflammatory or hurtful or offensive to other people, if I can still accomplish what I want to accomplish for myself without offending those other people or being inflammatory toward other people, and I can still get the same result by not being those ways, then why not do that? Isn't that better? Look, everybody's, pointing fingers. I'm accommodating, but you're not accommodating, that kind of thing. It all starts with you. I feel like there's a whole theme this week of man in the mirror. I'm starting with the man in the mirror. Shout out Ludacris. No, seriously though, a great idea kind of ruined by, high horse and inflammatory language, in my opinion. I don't know. What do you think? Boom, that is your cruise news. Thanks for checking the show out today. Do me a solid, hit that like button if you could. A big thanks to Burmese for sponsoring today's episode. This is Tony for La Lido Loca. And until the next time, we'll see you on the Lido. Bye. Cruise news, cruise news, cruise.